This is a Blarney Stone, a traditional Irish treat that's been around for years. It's a small piece of cake dipped in sugar glaze and enrolled in finely crushed peanuts. It's tasty, but not very elegant. I'm happy to say that times have improved things. Meet the peanut square, although semantically we should refer to them as peanut cubes or even peanut irregular prisms. But I think a little poetic license is allowed because peanut squares have a certain ring to them that is easier to pronounce. Beautiful, delicious, and elegant. These are unusual enough that they never fail to surprise people when they see a plate of these. The insides are pound cake, which provides a smooth texture. The frosting on the outside of that provides a creamy sweetness, and the crushed peanuts provide a salty chunkiness, which adds textural pleasure. These are really great, and I'm sure if you try them, you're going to be very happy with them. Here's how you make them. To prepare the nuts, take a small handful at a time, and using a rolling pin, lightly crush them. You don't want to break them up into a fine powder. You want to make sure there are no whole peanuts left, but that there are still large chunks. This greatly facilitates the sense of texture, of crunchiness in the completed peanut square. Scoop them onto a container, get another handful, and proceed until you've done about 3 cups of the dry roasted peanuts. I found the Planters dry roasted peanuts by far work the best. Other brands just don't have quite the brightness of flavor. I found the best peanut squares, or Blarney Stones if you prefer, are made using pound cake. Now I love pound cake and I've made many of them myself, but the fact is I can't make a pound cake as dense and as good tasting as good old Sara Lee frozen pound cake. Besides the convenience and flavor, it also has the advantage that the loaf comes out very flat, so you get much squarer peanut squares. Normally if you bake one of these at home or you use another brand, it has a high crown to it, and that gives an uneven size. While it's frozen, cut it into squares. Just like that. Now these may look small, but after the frosting and the peanuts are applied, they'll almost double in size. Put these back in the freezer. The cakes are much more sturdy, more durable, and easier to frost if you keep them frozen. Peanut squares benefit from using only the very best buttercream frosting. Now I've made many different types of buttercream frosting, boiled types, cold types, butter, margarine, everything you can imagine. And I've also taste tested dozens of different types, different brands of ready-made packaged buttercream frostings, and none of them quite come up to my expectations. I'm looking for a sweet frosting that's very smooth, holds its shape, but also has a deep butteriness to it, a depth of flavor that you just can't find. But I did find that if you start with Duncan Hines classic vanilla frosting, which by itself isn't very good, but one of the best you can find ready-made, and to that combine to one 16-ounce bucket, you combine 1 stick of salted butter and mix them together, you get something that's absolutely fantastic. It comes out a little thicker, it has a slight saltiness to it that works well against the sweetness of the frosting, and a rich but not overpowering butteriness to it. This is the frosting I recommend you use for peanut squares, or Blarney Stones if you prefer, or just everyday cake use. Make sure you use room temperature, but not melted or overly softened butter. What will happen is that the butter and frosting will whip up and produce a frosting that is firmer than either ingredient. Try this. I'm sure you're going to like it. Once all the preparations are done, making the peanut squares doesn't take very much work. Take one of the still frozen pieces of pound cake and going around the perimeter, place a thin layer of frosting on it. Doesn't have to be too neat because the peanuts will hide up any flaws. You don't want it too thick. There we go. And then roll the edges in the peanuts to coat. They'll stick pretty good. What's interesting about these is that unlike most cakes, all 6 sides get frosted and coated with peanuts. This adds to their elegance and flavor. The 6th side is the most difficult, but not hard at all. And there you have a peanut square, one of the great treats of all time.